everyone. Welcome to our Hillcrest at-home series. Today we are going to be going over a stringing tutorials, and I'm going to show you how we string our rackets here at Hillcrest, and go over kind of just how kind of the logic that we use when we recommend string, when we recommend tension, and also just show you how it's done. It's kind of a cool process. Just a little bit of background on my history of stringing. I've been stringing since I was 12, and I strung all through junior high, high school, college, and I've strung at all of the clubs that I've worked at, and it's a really cool trade to have, just because a lot of people don't know how to do it. It's just kind of a cool, interesting part of tennis that not a lot of people get to see. So I'm going to walk you through what we do, and first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about string. So today we are using just a synthetic string. So string is there's a huge broad spectrum of string and the different types that are carried, especially on the big websites like Tennis Warehouse and Tennis Express. They have a mass amount of inventory on that, but here at the club we have a nice little inventory of string from across the board. We have natural gut, which is it's a natural string, and it's our nicest, highest quality string that we have. And then it goes all the way down to what we have is a Prince synthetic gut, which is our least expensive string, but it also serves its purpose. It's definitely a good string for the beginners, and it's definitely a quality string. There's really no wrong string to have in your racket. It's just really what you're wanting to get out of play. And so typically I'll recommend to kind of just the average club player, average recreational player, I would just recommend a synthetic gut like this one, or what we also carry, which is a really nice quality string especially for the price, is Sensation, and it provides comfort and control while you're playing. And really, when you're looking at string, it's really just how it feels when you hit the ball. If you're playing with natural gut, really you're going to have a lot of feel, and it kind of catches the ball and it gives you a little bit more spin and control. So, but all of these synthetic strings are also just as quality. For some of the players that are looking for a little bit more durability, but they also want that spin and control, we really recommend what we call a hybrid. So a hybrid is when we use a poly string, which is here, I think you can show you, it's very stiff, okay, and it's obviously synthetic, but it lasts a long time. And then so what you do is you put the poly string in the main strings, which are the up and down, okay, and then you put the softer string in the crosses, which is going to give you more feel and touch and a little bit of control. So you have a little bit of the long-lasting durability with the feel. So it's a nice balance that we have. So, but today I'm just going to be stringing with Sensation. So this string right here, and I'm going to show you how we do it. So first off, we have to decide what tension we're going to string the racket. Typically each racket has its own range. So each model of racket, this one here, the range is 50 to 60 pounds of tension. So this one in particular, I'm going to string it at 53, excuse me. typically we pick right in the mid-range. You know, if you go too high, the racket gets kind of stiff, and the strings are very tight, but you have more control. The lower you string on that spectrum, the more power you're going to have, because the ball has a little bit more give in your strings. So, you know, I'm going to go with 53 on this one, because I know the person this racket that I'm stringing, and I know that they're going to appreciate a little bit more power and a little bit more feel with when they play. So on each stringer, we have the ability to adjust the tension. This one I've already adjusted to 53. Okay, and there are different stringing patterns for each model of racket. Everyone is slightly different. This one today, we're going to start. You either, depending on the racket, you either start at the throat or you start at the top. Today we're starting at the throat, and I have cut my string in half, so there's 2 sections. Okay, so the first section we're going to use for the mains. The second section is going to be for the crosses. Okay, and okay, so hopefully you can see how we do this here. So we have the clamps here, and they slide along our little table, and the clamps clamp the tension. Okay, so they're going to hold that tension for me, so that I can string the other side. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pull that tension. Okay. Make sure our clamp is all ready to go here. If it will pull. Sometimes we have to pull it, release it, just to get it going. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to get going. Typically, so what we're doing is we're doing the main string. So typically what happens is you're going to string the half of the racket, and then you string the other half. But I really like to make sure that we keep the tension within the frame nice and balanced. It'll guarantee us a little bit more of a true tension when we string, or when you're done. So you know it's not, and you see how that pulls the tension, and then I clamp it at the top. If I were to clamp it at the bottom, then we lose the tension on that one string, but it keeps the tension for the other 2. So but anyway, stringing is really kind of a cool trade. You know, it's it typically, but based on the racket, it's going to take, you know, anywhere between 25 and 30 minutes. And that's also based on the stringer, the actual stringer, or the machine that you're using. You know, I mean, there's some stringers that are on that they use on the Pro Tour that basically string themselves. I mean, they're all electronic, and you know, they're kind of the Cadillac of all stringers, you know. But the stringer that we have is the Prince Neos, and it's an excellent stringer. I actually grew up on the model that used to be Prince. I believe it was, you know, from the 1970s, and so anyway, it's a solid stringer. It definitely gets its job done, and we're able to string a wide variety of frame sizes and different types of string on this stringer. So, and you know, when people ask, you know, how often am I supposed to get my racket restrung? It's all dependent upon what you want out of your strings. I would recommend if you're playing 2 times a week, I would say you should get your racket restrung at least 3 times a year. But that's all dependent upon what you want to get out of your strings, right? You know, if you're, because once at a certain point, even if you don't break your strings, they lose that feel and they get a little dead. And so, you know, you're not maximizing the benefits of that actual string that's in your racket. You know, and so, but, you know, a good rule of thumb is twice a year. So a bunch of ladies had dropped off their rackets this week, or early this week. And some of them hadn't had them done in like 2 or 3 years. And so we decided that it was probably a good time to string their racket. They're getting back out here playing some tennis. And so it was a good opportunity for them to get it done. And so so if you notice, as we're going, I kind of switch back and forth so that I ensure balanced tension within the racket, and then it doesn't pull too much. Hi. No, hi, Diane. No, you're good. You're great. And so it ensures proper tension, and then it doesn't put too much pressure on that frame. And then, you know, then you kind of get a lopsided frame, which is obviously not what we want. And so here we go. And once it gets to the end here, I'm going to show you how we tie it off. But really the big thing is that we make sure that we keep the tension. And, you know, so I have it clamped over here because if I were to release that tension, then I lose everything from here over. And so, you know, it's very important that we make sure we keep that tension, because then we'd have to redo everything that we've done so far. So, okay. So we finished this side. So we've already finished this half of the main strings. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie it off. Hope you can see it. So there's certain what we call grommets. So those are the little circles that are on this, you know, all the way around the racket, and it just protects the string from the frame from cutting that string. So there's certain grommets that we can tie off. They're a little bit bigger than the others. So this one in particular is right here. Okay. What we're going to do is we're just going to tie a little knot. Okay. And the key here is that we're just tying off that knot so that when we unclamp it, we keep that tension. Okay. And I typically like to do 2, just so that it ensures that this knot doesn't slip through the grommet, especially when you've strung a racket that has been strung multiple times. The grommets tend to kind of spread a little bit, so it's best to double knot. Okay, so I'm going to finish. I still have this clamped because I'm going to release both clamps at the same time, so we keep that tension. Okay, so we're almost done. So this racket we'll count the mains here in just a second, but it requires, on the mains, it requires me to skip 2 grommets for the cross strings. And I'll explain that here in just a second. Okay, so we're going to complete these main strings here. Okay. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to tie this one off. Okay. Okay. And sometimes, you know, I use the tensioner here just to kind of pull that string nice and gentle. We also use a set of needle nose pliers, or I've also used, there's certain special tools that you can buy for that, but this works just fine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to release both at the same time, And that ensures that our tension is nice and balanced. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take this putty off here. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get set up to do our cross strings, okay? And before we do that, I'm gonna clip this string, clip it so it's nice and flush with the racket so we don't have any injuries with string that cuts people. Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna get all set up for the crosses here. Okay. All right. So now, like I said earlier, this racket required that we skip two grommets on the mains on the top and 2 on the bottom. So it ensures that we have a cross string at the very top and second to top, and then we're going to do the same on the bottom. And typically, you know, each racket will follow the same pattern on the top that it does on the bottom, but there are some anomalies that will be an exception to that rule. You know, so it's all dependent upon the racket. Okay, so I'm going to take my second half of the string here, and what we're going to do is we have to tie a knot at the top. Okay, so we're gonna find a grommet of where we tie it off, and right here is the one. Okay. Okay, so we're going to tie that off. Okay. And sometimes it takes a little bit of encouragement to get going. Okay, so the key with the crosses here, I'm going to kind of turn around this way. So the key with the crosses, if you ever look at your racket, the strings go every other, you know, so we can create that spin. If the racket were just, you know, one string all the way across, it would never create any sort of spin. The ball would just take off. So this is where it gets a little bit meticulous, because we have to make sure that we create that up and over and then down and under each string. So this is where the time commitment comes in. All right, so we're gonna pop in here at the very top, and I always like to start on the bottom, and then it's always my mental check that I have to end on the top because it's every other. Okay, so I come across, boom, 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 and then I'm going to come out the other side. I started on the bottom, I ended on the top, so that ensures that I'm every other. Okay, you pull it through. Okay, and then I'm going to give it a little bit of tension before I pull it, so that I can tie off my second knot on the top here. And I'm going to pull it with the needle nose. Okay. Now we're going to go through on the other side. Before I pull this one, I'll show you a little trick that we do. Okay, so now I'm going to start here. We're going to come through. I'll show you a few, and then we'll. Okay, so when I pull it, so that I don't create too much friction, I kind of wiggle it down as I pull, so that it doesn't create heat and friction in that on the string, and then it creates these rivets, and so then the string is not nice and smooth. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pull the tension on that first top row. Okay, and because I tighten the knot, we have the tension there, and it'll hold it. And then we're going to clamp it. Okay, and this just helps. So how I strung that second row, it's going to help time-wise, and so we keep rolling through. Okay, and so I just have to really make sure as I check and I roll through. Okay, making sure that I'm checking each time I finish a line that it's the proper, I started under and I finish on top. And then, oops, what am I doing? Okay, now I pull that second line as I go, and then I'm going to clamp it. And it's really key that you clamp it on the end that you pull it, okay? And because, like I said, it keeps that tension. And so we'll do one more line and then we'll finish off. Okay, so again, bottom to top, boom, boom, boom. Okay. All right, last one. Okay. All right, and then we'll clamp it. Okay, I'm going to finish this, but I wanted to thank you all for joining us today. If you are interested in getting your racket restrung, feel free to call down to the tennis shop or shoot us an email. We'd be happy to get that done for you. We have about a 24-hour turnaround. So we'd love to help you. We're here to help you play the best tennis you can. So if you have any questions on string, rackets, anything like that, we are here to help you, and we're happy to accommodate whatever needs you have. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we hope to see you out here on the courts. Stay Hillcrest strong, and we'll see you soon. Bye.